What's up gamers, my name's Wuluko, and today I want to tell you about an easily accessible farming spot in Diablo 4 that can make you over 7 million experience per hour, even while playing solo. The farming spot consists of 2 dungeons in Fractured Peaks, both very close to Kyovashad, so that's why it's so easy to get to them, even if you're level 1. The first one is Immortal Emanation just southeast of Kyovashad, and the other one is just northeast of that. It's called Hallowed Ossuary. Basically, all we're going to be doing is running back and forth between these 2 dungeons and clearing out the first stage of each one. So here we are inside the first dungeon that we're going to be farming, called Immortal Emanation. As you can see, we're starting off here at 9,134,064 experience points. And from there, we'll start running through the dungeon. So the reason this dungeon is so good for farming XP is that the first objective in the area is to destroy 5 blood boils. That's important because each blood boil counts as an elite and gives about the same amount of experience for killing it. And on top of that, it summons a big pack of mobs while you're damaging it, and when it gets low health, it also summons another elite on top of that. So that's a guaranteed minimum of 10 elites in the first area, with a good chance to find more, even on World Tier 1 and 2. Right now we're fighting through this on World Tier 4, so there's going to be a little more density than lower World Tiers, but you'll notice the enemy type in this dungeon is ghosts and vampires, which is a little annoying, but the sheer volume of monsters you can find in these small areas around the blood boils more than makes up for the annoyance of dealing with these particular enemy types. So with 5 blood boils in the dungeon and a guaranteed extra elite spawn per blood boil, along with the extra packs, the density around the boils themselves is very, very good. But the pathways between them are a little bit sparse most of the time. Every once in a while you'll find a room that has a decent amount of mobs, but for the most part you can just run from boil to boil without stopping and kind of ignore most of the trash on the way. A lot of times the trash will just follow you to the blood boils anyways, so it's fine. But the layout of this dungeon is pretty simple. It's basically 2 squares with a connecting path between them. Sometimes you'll have to backtrack a little bit depending on how they're oriented, but all in all it's not that bad, and you can run through it fairly quickly, as you can see. We're down to 1 blood boil left, and it's been just over 2 minutes. We're taking some time to kill a couple extra elites here and there. And this is actually a little bit of unlucky pathing. If I had taken a different turn, I don't know, about 15 seconds ago, we would have been there much faster and could have moved on, but these things happen, and we got some extra monsters anyways. But this is basically the entirety of the run. Just find the boils, kill all the monsters they summon, kill the elites, and you're good to go. So that was 1 full run of Immortal Emanation. It took us about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and we came out at 9,568,468 experience. So for those that didn't memorize it the first time, we started at 9,134,064 experience. So in that 2 minutes and 45 seconds, we gained a total of 434,404 experience. After we run through the other dungeon, Hallowed Ossuary, we'll go over the amount of XP we get from that as well, and then we'll calculate that out and show how we get over 7 million experience per hour off of these 2 dungeons. But first things first, we need to actually go through Hallowed Ossuary. So step 1 is going to be traveling there, which thankfully it's not very far. It's just a little northeast of Immortal Emanation. All you do is just hop on your horse, follow the path, and yeah, it's just like 10 seconds. 11, because I couldn't stop the timer in time, whatever. Either way, it's not long. We've got a potion on. We're starting this at 9,569,303 experience, and we're just gonna go right through it. So the experience in Hallowed Ossuary isn't quite as good as that in Immortal Emanation, but the first objective in this place is to collect Animus from Animus carriers. This means that there's a guaranteed 6 elites that spawn in this first section. The reason the experience isn't as good as the other dungeon is that these are basically the only 6 elites in this zone. The rest of this density is made up of the zombies and grubs you see kind of filling each of the rooms. And while I find it satisfying to walk into a room full of enemies and watch them all get one shot and like explode, the XP just isn't quite as good to do that as it is to fight less small enemies with a few more elites on top of them. So the layout of this place is pretty simple. It's basically a path at the start leading to a big square area with another path branching off on the opposite side of the square. Usually the opposite path is where the last Animus carrier is. The rest are kind of spread out in the first half, but it's pretty often you'll see a room like this one where there are actually 2 or 3 Animus carriers on top of each other. So the goal of this place is to get through these animus carriers as quickly as possible so that we can get back to Immortal Emanation faster, where the XP is a little better. While you're running through here, if you find yourself having a hard time keeping track of how many elites you've killed, the easiest way to tell when you're done is to pick up all of the purple orbs that drop from the elites when you finish them off. And then when you kill the last one, the animus bar will fill up in the top right, and then you'll know you're done. I didn't do that in this run, but in most runs I will actually take the time to do that because it's much easier than just trying to count every elite. We ended up with 9,732,422 experience. Compare that to our starting value of 9,569,303, and we gained 163,119 total experience from Hallowed Ossuary in about 1:55. Now to review our numbers. We made it through Immortal Emanation in just under 3 minutes and gained 434,404 experience. Then we went through Hallowed Ossuary in a little under 2 minutes and gained 163,119 experience, and it takes about 10 seconds to go between the dungeons each way. So all told, it took us about 5 minutes to get through the first section of each dungeon one time, and it gave us a total of 597,523 experience. This means we should be able to do about 12 runs through each of these dungeons per hour, and that should net us a little over 7.1 million experience per hour. Now, it's important to note that that number of 7.1 million experience is measured at level 82, so if you're higher level, then that number will probably be higher for a similar amount of kills. And if you're lower in the 1 to 50 range, you're definitely not going to get that much experience. But the fact of the matter is, it is a lot of elites and a lot of experience packed very densely in these 2 dungeons. That's it for this video. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you try this farming spot and decide you don't like it because of the enemy types or the layouts or whatever, I have another video about a similar farming spot in Fractured Peaks where you can very easily bounce between 2 dungeons and get a lot of experience very quickly. So be sure to check that video out over there, and good luck leveling your characters.